Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your interest in Project V20. My name is Sam Azar, the president of Unity Foundation Incorporated, the founders of this idea, Project V20. In the following program, we hope to convey the idea that it needs to be investigated strongly. We do not make any claims at this moment that says that this idea will positively destroy viruses. We can only hope that it will. Scientifically, it sounds like it makes sense. The idea that's going to be presented to you, I spoke in front of some students in a college trying to convey the idea to them. That's the setting that the following program is going to show. I hope by the end of that program, it's about 20 minutes, that at the end of that the idea, how I tried to present it in a very simple format so that everybody can understand. I know without a shadow of a doubt that scientists will understand because I've already conferred with them and discussed it, and they understand it. They understand that it needs to be investigated. But I want everybody to understand. I want everybody to understand because this virus is a terrible thing. Medicine today, beautiful what they are doing. They're trying their best to do what they can do, and it's tough work, and they're doing a commendable job. What we're trying to say is if sometimes you see another way to come to the end goal, look into that way, especially if this way has to do with saving lives or improving lives. And so, in this virus, which destroys lives, we have to sometimes approach it any way we can. And I just want to convey, again, I hope you walk away from this program with an understanding that hey, maybe this does make sense. This makes sense. Let's look into this. Never saying that we should stop the medicine way. Never. You don't do that. But just saying that some other group of scientists in these other fields I'm going to talk about should maybe think more about what I'm saying. We want everybody to get involved, everybody to add their opinion. We want everybody to try and work on it. Not everybody, but obviously the specialists of science, particularly in physics and organic chemistry, and you'll see why through the program, get involved. Maybe on a part-time basis on the side, or maybe they take it on head on. That's fine. We just want you to know that we are, at the Unity Foundation, aggressively attacking this. We feel there is something about it, and we want to find out. And we want to convince you through this program that maybe there's another way to come after the enemy being the virus. Any virus. HIV is a problem. There's all sorts of viruses. Rabies, the measles, there's everything. There's dozens of them. And this approach will, if it works, will approach all of them. So with that said, the following program is a video of myself speaking in a classroom setting to some students, and I hope that you will understand what we're trying to convey. From listening to others who reviewed the tape already, the majority of them did understand. Some who didn't, I recommend to you, if you don't, watch it one more time, maybe 3 times. These are sound scientific principles. I hope I can do my best to explain them with analogies to show you the light, shining on this idea. If this idea bears fruit to it. Testing will conclude that, not theory, only testing. So with that said, please try and just keep in a clear mind and an open mind to what we're about to say. Thank you very much. Project V20 is all about vibrations. In a classical example of acoustical sound vibrations, one can shatter a wine glass. What do I mean? If I had a wine glass here, and I wish I did have the props, but this should conjure up your memories. If I had a wine glass and I had an audio generator, or even an opera singer, I guess, and at a certain frequency, at a certain note, one could start resonating that glass. And if you turn up the volume in the generator, or if she or he could sing at that note loud enough, you can vibrate it so much you would shatter that glass. That particular frequency is called the resonant frequency. And that resonant frequency is particular to the shape of that glass. Every structure has a particular shape, and because of its shape, it has a particular capability for resonant frequencies of vibrating forces. Now, the vibrating forces can be sound, they can be mechanical waves, or they can be electromagnetic waves. Let me just put you more in a mindset. I'm going to walk you in through this, into this whole idea, but another example of sound vibrations. As I talk, I vibrate the air. Your eardrums begins to vibrate and goes through the mechanisms, and there's a transducer in there, one of the ear cells, that translate that sound vibration into electrical information to your brain, and you process it as sound and information. Well, your ear is resonating within a large spectrum of frequencies in the sound spectrum, but only within 0 to 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz. That your ear is able efficiently to pick up information within that spectrum. But yet the sound frequencies extend all the way up even to gigahertz, ultrasound, sonics. But you don't hear those. Bats hear it, or dogs can hear a little bit higher frequencies, but you don't. If I had a dog whistle and blew it, you wouldn't hear it, but the dog would. It's a higher frequency. His ears are more tuned to hear what we hear plus what they hear in a higher spectrum. So his ears can resonate to certain vibrations within in a higher frequency range. Now, to show the power of how it could hurt him too, you don't want to do this, but if one was to blow harder through the dog whistle, not only will the dog hear it, but it would hurt him, because though you can stimulate it, you can also hurt it, just like the glass. If you had the volume low on the wine glass, it would just barely vibrate it. Turn it up, you would break it. Another form of vibration or wave is an electromagnetic wave. Light is an electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic waves, there are all kinds, from radio waves to gamma rays. The middle, everything in between, it's a huge interim. It's vast, filled of all sorts of waves, and ranging from radio waves and microwaves and infrared and light waves and ultraviolet rays and gamma rays. And light is just but one little tiny slice of the entire spectrum. And our eyes, again with resonance, are tuned to that frequency, and that's how we see things. From the sun, these light frequencies that come down, they shine, or with a flashlight or any light source, what do we see? Such as this blackboard here. Light emanates upon it. The dye or the green paint here absorbs every color in that light spectrum except for green. Green gets reflected off, hits your eyeball, resonates the cell, the rods and cones, and then you transduce or translate that information into electrical symbols to the brain and create a picture. That's how you see. Everything that you see is unabsorbed frequencies. And that's because we're resonating. Our eyeballs are resonating, are tuned, you could say, to those frequencies. I mean, because we don't see other things in the spectrum. We don't see radio waves, and we don't see ultraviolet rays, and we don't see infrared rays. We have a special camera for that. How the military, uses this a lot, or sometimes the nature programs you see when they film the animals at night. How do they do that? That's the infrared wavelengths that they're looking at, and they have special detectors that can see that, and they translate that into light, so we could see it, so we could look at that information. So, but my point is, certain structures, even the electromagnetic spectrum, certain structures are resonating to certain frequencies. Today, technology, and for a long time, for half a century, technology has been using electromagnetic waves very efficiently in regards to resonant frequencies. Radios, televisions, one particular frequency transmitting through the air to a particular radio station or a particular TV station. It's just one particular frequency activates one particular receiver or antenna. There are many types of antennas, or how you say resonant structures, to receive that information. There are many kinds, but the one that I like to want to focus on is with a pager, a personal pager. Internally, usually with pagers, is a quartz device, a piezoelectric device, a quartz crystal. Now, they don't just pop in any quartz crystal and expect it to always resonate at a certain frequency. It's the way they determine the shape and the cut. And with all structures, the shapes and the cuts all has to do, and atomic physics could get into this. I'm not going to take you down that path, but just realize that if I had this pager, a particular structure, and I had many pagers amongst it, but I activate my frequency by dialing the phone number to activate it, only mine would turn on. Nobody else's. Nobody else, even if it had a million of them here, only this one turns on. Just like if, going back to the sound, that wine glass, that structure, you can turn up that volume and hit that, only that will break or vibrate. But you can stand around it and everything else around it will not get affected. Slightly it gets affected, everything has a slight effect, but when it's at the resonance, when the structure is structurally capable to accept the resonant frequency. Now again, atomic physics could relate to this, how the atoms are covalently bonded and the molecules are next to each other, how they, the electric fields between each other. I don't want to really go there too much, but that could all be explained. You don't really need to know how it really works. I mean, a computer, how amazing it is. We don't really care all the ones and zeros and how it works. We just know how to use it. Same with the telephone and a few other things. Just realize that a particular frequency can activate a particular structure. That's what I'm really trying to set your mind up for, to think about. Why? Because what I'm about to talk about now. We want to find a resonant frequency for a particular structure. That structure is HIV virus. Or, please, any virus. Any virus is a structure. And I have a toy, I guess it was, for my niece, laying in the driveway. I remember finding it, and she said it was hers, and I had a hard time getting it from her. And this looks like the HIV virus, representation of it, of a retrovirus, a class, a family of viruses. Not almost exactly, actually these appendages are shorter, but for all intents and purposes, for me it satisfies, it represents a virus, which is a structure. Unlike other structures, such as a cell, a human cell that it has life to it. It brings in food, it excretes food, there's machinery within, and things are moving, things are happening. Viruses, and scientists they don't know how to describe it. Is it dead or is it alive? Because it's kind of like a rock. It's just a structure. It's kind of like a crystal. It actually has crystalline shapes to it, and so, which are some of the micrographs that we've taken of viruses. They have internally, especially around the RNA, the nuclear envelope within them, they have crystalline shapes, even the exterior. But my point is, it's fixed. They notice no activity whatsoever going on in a virus, except when it comes in contact, obviously, with its host. In the case of HIV virus, we are the hosts. How does this work? I wanted to explain it, just give you a little background knowledge how this works. If this was a human cell, and particularly a T helper immune cell, a cell with a nuclear membrane and DNA inside. If that was the size of the cell, that would be the size of HIV. It's a small thing. It's a small virus. Again, HIV is what caused AIDS. HIV destroys these cells in the body, the immune system, and that's what a person then develops acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So AIDS is not a virus, it's HIV is the culprit. This is who you need to focus in on. Or again, of course, it could be many other viruses, but we're going to just focus in on the one that just seems to be doing the most destruction today, in today's times. So here we are. This is the size relative to the immune cell, the T helper cell, the one that is having all the problems to deal with in our bodies. On the T helper cell, there is something called a CD4 receptor site. It's kind of like a door to come into the cell. And the HIV virus, these little things sticking out, are like keys to a door. These are the keys. And this is how it works. If somehow it gets transmitted into your body through various fluids, it gets into your bloodstream, and it drifts around. And it's a structure. It's just drifting around, and it has no life until the day this CD4 receptor site, and there's other sites and other things, but predominantly, greatest percentage-wise, it's the CD4 receptor site, which could be represented somewhat like my hand, the door. And this thing comes drifting along, and once it comes in contact with the door, because it's a key, it tells the door to open up, I'm coming in. And when the door opens, then there's ways, there's mechanisms of fusion between the two membranes, but the point is, it has a key, it comes in, it opens up, it comes to life. It comes in camouflaged, it comes in with a bag of tools. And its objective is to get to the brain of each cell, which is the DNA. Its objective is to come in, and HIV, the brain of it, is RNA. It's not DNA, it's RNA. So it comes in with a bag of tricks. And the bag of tricks, one of them is called reverse, I get a little screaming sounds there, reverse transcriptase. That is something that converts its RNA into DNA. Now it's perfectly camouflaged to do this, to slice your DNA and to insert itself inside. Now this term is called a provirus. But what it really is that the brain of this cell has now been commandeered by a foreign body, by a foreign brain. And that brain, what it tells it to do in a certain period of time, somewhere in the life of the human being, in that human cell, is to do this. The function of that immune cell is to defend the body from foreign invaders. Whether it's going to physically destroy it itself, by lysing the cell, by lysing the pathogen, or by, once it receives a foreign body, it sends out messages. And that's what T helper cells do. They help the body by sending various messages and hormones throughout the bloodstream and say, hey, alarm, invasion alert. Let's, activate antibodies. Let's do something. We need to get ready and fight. But the brain is commandeered. What does it really do? What does it start to do? Well, it tells the cell from now on, make me, make the HIV. So all the mechanisms of the cell now go to work making HIV. And the cell starts to fill up and starts to fill up. It starts to fill up like water going in a balloon and filling up and filling up and filling up until it bursts. Now in the bloodstream, there are millions and billions of them. And that's of these. Now, well, let me just back up a little bit. When they make them, they're immature, okay? When they make them, they're immature, and there's another one of its bag of tools, it's called protease. It's one of the bags of tricks here, this thing here, this is one of the bag of tricks, and it's made somewhat, you could say, immature. With the help of this, it matures it. It matures it enough that it says, hey, I'm ready to go out into the outside world, the bloodstream, and start doing some more invasion. But it needs to get converted a little bit, or something happens with it. What does science do today with medicine? Well, you don't have to kill the whole thing. You just have to kill one little thing sometimes. Take out the spark plug in your car, and your car will not run. In a way, reverse transcriptase, what it does, convert RNA to DNA. Drugs, AZT, for example, will deactivate RT, reverse transcriptase, so it can't do its work, so the things can't start happening. Or on the other end of the spectrum, after production was made and now it's time for maturity, protease inhibitors. You can attack the enzyme, one of the bag of tricks that the HIV brain took along with it to come inside and commandeer the cell. So, sometimes you don't have to you don't have to vaporize an entire the enemy. I mean, if you just knock out something, and as long as it's, it can't perform its function as a whole, you pretty much rendered it inoperable. And that's what science tries to seek, and that's what the scientists have been doing today through the use of medicine, and they're doing beautiful work. Very laborious. It's tough, and they're doing, and it's commendable what they're doing. Their work, it's incredible. But we're talking about something else today. Just another approach to try something that we feel at Unity just deserves investigation. We feel it. This is our venture. You know, our background is not with medicine. You know, it's my background is with, you know, with electromagnetics and various fields, and this idea came about, and we feel we're just going to go about and look at it. And I hope to convince you that it deserves investigation. So, what are we talking about? Finding a particular frequency to resonate, whether the whole thing, whether the appendage, whether the protease, whether the reverse transcriptase, whether the RNA, whatever. Testing will reveal if we even can. We must find out. And find that frequency, resonate it, and destroy it. Even if it's just the spark plug in the car, or the keys, whatever it might be. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, so how are we going to do it? How do we find the frequencies? Well, there's two ways. In one field, the branch of science in organic chemistry, it's called vibrational spectroscopy. What they do through the use of equations, mathematical equations, in classical mechanics and quantum physics, you can calculate them. It's pretty much all a basis of mass spring relationships between atoms, how they move molecularly like this. We can attempt it this way, you know, just purely mathematically, and then with the frequencies derived, we test. Or we can do this every day, and also in the field of organic chemistry, they use an instrument called a spectrometer, or, you know, again, in spectroscopy. What it essentially is whatever your sample is, we want HIV or the virus or any target. They use glycol alcohol, whatever the chemical might be, that's the target. They use a radiation source. Here, radiation source, and a detector, here. And that detector has a chart that picks up information. This is the information it picks up. A radiation source. It can be infrared, it could be ultraviolet, it could be anywhere in the electromagnetic spectrum. What it does, you vary the frequency incrementally. You know, you one wavelength at a time. I mean, that's for the best resolution. Why? You're shining upon your target. Shining, radiating upon it. Some things get absorbed, some things don't. They hit the detector. Why would they get absorbed? Why not get absorbed? Everything in life is affected by some frequency, whether sound or even electromagnetically. Again, come back to the blackboard. Light, electromagnetic energy, and other forms of energy, they're getting absorbed. Let's just concentrate on the light. It's being absorbed by this blackboard, but green is not. The green wavelength is reflected back, and that's what's hitting my eye and your eye, and you know. So, but it shows structures, paint, dye, whatever it might be, absorb and not absorb. You know, they resonate to some things and not to others, and again, explained by atomic physics. So, you have a target sample here. You radiate with increment of wavelengths, and you see what was absorbed, what was not absorbed, what was absorbed, what was not absorbed. And then you go back and you look at those charts, and you look for what was absorbed. You concentrate on those, and you determine, was there anything else in the body? Was it human DNA or other things or other sites, or was anything else close to that frequency? If not, which I doubt, because theoretically, everything has an inherent property. Just like the wine glass, when you resonate it with the frequency, nothing else breaks around it. It's because of its structure, because of its shape. That's how you affect it, but you have to have a pure frequency for it. So, concentrate on an absorbed frequency. Then build a generator, an RF, radio frequency generator, that just isolates one, gives one pure tone. One, you know, whatever that frequency might be. Explain, this will be the wavelength between, you know, between the two. But again, find that absorbed frequency. There might be several. There might be a dozen. There might, you know, whatever they are, test. Find out. Check it out. Apply it. Turn it up. See if you can break it. You break the virus, it proves what we're saying. If not, then testing concluded it does not. Not theory. Testing concludes whether it shall or it shall not work. That's pretty much in a nutshell of what we at the Unity Foundation, under project title V20, what we're trying to do. Welcome back. I hope the preceding program was ample enough analogies and suggestions to convince you, we hope, that this idea deserves investigation and testing. That is the biggest message I'm trying to tell everyone, that we must test to conclude what this idea is all about. I don't think it should be theoretically debated. I think you do it, but concurrently with testing, because the conclusion to any argument is testing, thorough testing. The idea built upon sound foundations, and we feel it just has to be tested. Why? It's a virus. It's a killer. It's a plague upon mankind, and we have to try everything under the sun to combat this thing. Never stop the drug method. Drive on with this method. Continue. If we see other ways, open those ways and continue and try. And keep on trying until we stop this plague, because there are too many people getting sick from this thing and dying from this. And that's why we are, at the Unity Foundation, trying our best to push this ahead, as best as we can, move this along. It's been said, why didn't you go at the traditional route of a nonprofit corporation and seek funding from research grants and this method and accepting donations, the traditional route, which would be tax exempt? We did. We just last week. This is all happening within weeks. And we found out it takes 6 to 8 months and maybe longer to finalize an application for a nonprofit status, because as you can imagine, it takes, there's review boards to see, why are you trying to do such a thing? To be nonprofit so you don't pay taxes to the government. It's understandable. Concurrently, we are making a nonprofit foundation right now, so we can, in 6 to 8 months from now, we will be set up that way if this is not figured out by then. So we have to prepare for that. We don't want to wait 6 to 8 months. We formed the corporation right away, and we're on the books, and this gives us the ability to come on the internet to seek funding in other ways from foundations that supply to profit corporations. It was just a way that we can get on now so we can start this testing, so we can do things. I hope that, with that said, that was enough to convey why we took this approach. We're going to try other approaches. We're going to try everything. We want to try everything because, again, people are getting sick. And that sickens me to the point of trying everything to help. We just want to help. We hope that we can figure this out. We hope that anybody can figure this out. If any company figures this out, fine. We don't care about the credit, getting the credit for it, the invention for it. I think some things in life you shouldn't care about inventions for a particular object. I think if I was making a better can opener, that's different. Maybe I could be secretive and wait till it's done and patent it and then tell the world, look at this great can opener. Something like this, you have to open it up. You have to right away tell people what's going on. And this is the route we took. Right away, form a company so we can legitimately get on the internet and tell everybody. And not just telling, because we're not sure who's going to really listen, but tell, and if some believe, help. Through assistance, of course, if you, in any way that you see. And with that assistance, we're going to drive on, and we're going to test, and we're going to conclude. But the more the merrier. We hope to convey that. The more that jump on the bandwagon and address this, the better. So with that said, we hope that you can support us on our idea of Project V20. Thank you very much, and may God enlighten everyone with knowledge for the betterment of mankind. Thank you.